Hello everybody, this is Mr. Yen, and this is the video lesson for 7.5a, where we are going to be talking about how to use a flowchart for triangle congruence proofs. Let's take a look at the first problem in the 7.5a worksheet. For each of these problems, you're going to be given certain pieces of information, and then using that information, prove another piece of information. So in this case, we are given the information that side AB is congruent to side CB. So I'm going to mark that on the diagram. AB, that's this side here, is congruent to side CB. That's this side here. And AD is congruent to CD. That's this side here. Okay. And then we're being asked to prove that angle BAD is congruent to angle BCD. Sometimes angles can be written with 3 letters. We do that because in some cases, for example, in this diagram, if I just said angle B, it's unclear what angle I'm talking about because I could be talking about this angle here on the left or this angle here on the right or the whole angle right there. So we use 3 letters to be more specific. So angle BAD is the angle that goes between these 3 points. Point B, point A, point D. So I know it has to be this angle right here. This is BAD. Angle BCD is the angle that goes between those 3 points. Point B, point C, point D. So BCD, it would have to be this angle here. So we want to try to prove that this angle is congruent to this angle on the right. Notice how this diagram is split up into 2 triangles. So if we can prove that these 2 triangles are congruent to each other, then we can prove that these 2 corresponding angles also have to be congruent. Okay, I'm going to erase this part for now so we don't get confused. Here's how we can put that proof into a flowchart. The first thing we want to do, if we want to prove that these 2 triangles are congruent to each other, is list the congruences that we already know. We know from the given that angle or side AB is congruent to side CB. So I'll write that out. Side AB is congruent to side CB. We also know from the given information that side AD is congruent to side CD. AD side is congruent to side CD. And even though it's not written out, we know that the third side is going to be congruent because the third side of each triangle is shared by both of them. And because it's a shared side, we know it has to be congruent. So we can conclude that BD is congruent to itself. And now we know that between these 2 triangles, they have this side congruent, this side congruent, and this side. 3 sides that are congruent. So we can say that triangle ADB is congruent to triangle CDB. And anytime that you say that 2 triangles are congruent, you have to provide the reason or the criteria why. We know that they're congruent because, and the criteria that we can use to prove that they're congruent is they have 3 congruent sides. Or in shorthand, a side, and a side. please write out the full criteria, not just the shorthand. And so now that we've proven that this triangle on the left, triangle ADC, is congruent to the triangle on the right, triangle CDB, we know that all of the other parts in the two triangles also have to be congruent. So now let's list all of the remaining, sorry, let me just get this situated. List all of the remaining congruent parts of these two triangles. Well, we've listed the three sides that are congruent. Let's also list the three angles that are congruent. We know that angle A has to be congruent to angle C. And I'm going to be more specific. I'm going to reference this as angle BAD is congruent to angle BCD. I also know that angle BDA, that's this angle here, BDA, is going to be congruent to this angle here. So that's BDC. And I know that this third angle here, which is ABD, has to be congruent to this angle here, which is CB and then a D. So angle ABD is congruent to angle CBD. These are the three other parts that we can also conclude are congruent. Now remember, we wanted to prove this right here, that angle BAD is congruent to angle BCD, and we did that in this bottom part of our proof right here. So therefore I can conclude what I was trying to prove, that angle BAD is congruent to angle BCD. And the reason why we were able to conclude this is because, and this is the academic language that we want to use for this last part of the proof, corresponding parts of congruent triangles are congruent. We know that these two angles have to be congruent because corresponding parts of congruent triangles are congruent. Another way of thinking that is if two triangles are congruent, then all of the parts in those two triangles also have to be congruent. That's what this is saying. Corresponding parts of congruent triangles are congruent. Okay, and so you're going to follow a similar flowchart structure to complete problems 2 and 3 for your classwork today. And with that, I say goodbye and good luck.